Welcome to the Beyond Thundera Podcast. I am Sean Buddha McEwen, author of The Hall of Omens and Hall of Omens Thunderverse, and I'm alongside the one and only ThunderCats writer, script consultant, and all-around showrunner, the great Peter Lawrence. And today we've got two very special guests with us. You know, from the Radical Retro Rewind podcast and also the ThunderCats 1985 reviews, Ryan and David Hunter, right? I should have asked this beforehand. I know it's Hunter, but I don't know, is both your last names Hunter? Or I felt that I screwed it up.
No problem at all.
I don't know, David. I don't know your last name. I figured it was Hunter. But
I have an H, but I'm not a Hunter. I'm a Hale.
what was it?
Do you know I'm a Hale.
Hale. I'm sorry. Ryan
Okay.
Hunter and David Hale. There we go.
You know what's funny? It's become like almost my last name now, but it's actually my middle name. So I always go by just Ryan Hunter.
That's his stage name.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's very...
It's better than our real original name, that really strong Italian. It's easier to say Hunter.
Hey, whatever works, you know. Again, I'm sorry, I should have asked beforehand. I was fun. I thought about it, and then I just totally blanked on it. That's kind of what I do here. I blank out on a lot of things, and then have situations like this. As you can see, very professional on this end.
But you are very professional, and anyone who's talked to Buddha or, you know, had him on or had him at a convention, you are beyond professional. So,
well, thank you for lying.
Let's not make this too professional. It's just supposed to be feeling that we got massive libel insurance.
even better.
Feel free to say whatever you want about anyone you want at any time. Right?
You have listened to our podcast, so you know that we don't really hold back. I mean, we're definitely we do it with reverence as love, but we like to make fun. We make fun of ourselves. We make fun
All the time. Oh my goodness. If you can't make fun of yourself,
100%. And actually, I want to thank you. I've been a guest on your podcast several times. I would have an absolute blast. I will have the link in the description of the video for everyone to check out if you haven't. Because I know I've been on the Thundercat review aspect of your podcast, but I know you do much more than just Thundercats on your podcast. You do all kinds of retro 80s, you know, and films, the shows. You kind of go all over the place. But before we get to the Thundercat,
yes.
when did you start with doing the podcast? So kind of what really influenced you, or what made you want to go ahead and do the podcast for Radical Retro Rewind?
And you said it so well, because you know how many years it took me to do that, to Radical Retro Rewind with Ryan Hunter, yeah, and all these R's. So it really started, Buddha, with the pandemic and all of that time, and having, you know, more free time at home because of everything that was going on, and a way really for David and I to connect, because at the time I was living in New York still, our home city, and David was in Arizona here, and we thought that would be a great way to get together, reminisce all of the things from our childhood that has brought us joy, and that's really where it started.
Yeah, I feel like it brought us together, but it also, you know, one of the reasons why we do what we do is because of the memories that we do share. And that was also, obviously, the pandemic was a scary time for the world. It was like, we didn't know what was going on. You didn't know. You got conflicting information about, you know, you didn't know if I sound negative, you didn't know if you were going to die, because God only knows what was going on. So this was also a way, we were so far away, we weren't able to travel really. And so this was a way not only to connect with each other, but with other people, but also almost have that security as children that we have found in things like ThunderCats, yes, and all the other, yes, things that we hold dear. It's kind of like a very simplified way of saying like having a child, like embracing that child and feeling safe. That was part of it too, for me, for sure.
I mean, and these were I'm sorry, Peter.
Oh, go ahead.
But I was just going to say, these were the conversations that we were having ourselves over topics. I mean, again, just to go back to ThunderCats, for years we would watch those episodes and say, well, this happened in this episode. What does this mean? Could this be connected to this? Like, so the conversations that we were having for years as brothers,
And quoting things.
and quoting, exactly, quoting, like, I mean, again, ThunderCats was just in our daily life. I mean, we would say a quote from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So this was definitely a way to celebrate that, and that's what Radical was originally.
Well, and speaking of those conversations, I mean, as I've said ad nauseam, I'm kind of new to the whole aficionado thing. I mean, as when David wrote his book, a few interviews then, and then when Buddha started his first book, that's really when I started to realize what an incredible group of, I don't like the word fans, but anyway, fans there is. It's monumental, and it's very humbling. And going back to conversations, I find, we got these, remember, it's 40 years ago. Well, in episode 14, when Snarf, Victor's nose, did you write something?
And what were you feeling when you wrote that?
So yesterday, we had a question from a Spanish-speaking the astral prison. And so, I mean, I remember vaguely what it was about, obviously. And it's that whole area is fascinating to me, the various dimensions, crossing over and so on and so forth. And as I went through it, I thought, wait a minute. No, I've got the character of Nemex is completely wrong because it's based on Nemesis. And that actually, she's a goddess of justice. So why would she imprison Jara, number one? And then there's Brodo, who actually is imprisoned there. He's a magician. And when the time comes, he gets lion arms. Yeah. What the hell is he doing there anyway? I mean, I think actually, funny enough, I do think it works with the episode, but having to go back and remember that stuff and figure it out and give you a reason, or not you, but anybody a reason. And my excuse is, oh, we were working so fast. No, that's no excuse, man. But those conversations, they're quite fascinating. And actually, to be honest with you, I know the episodes that I wrote and loved writing, but I had completely forgotten about the astral prison. Total. That I wrote it. As soon as somebody said that, I knew what it was about, but I'd forgotten that I wrote it.
But again, that was such this personal feeling, but that's a great episode. Because I loved Nemex. That character, I don't know what it was about him, whether it's just he was so different looking. Again, when I was even younger, I just thought he was so cool, and I always wished there was a toy of him when I was a kid. Like, it was,
Yes.
I'm sure it was probably a little difficult to make it with all the arms and everything, but that's going to be another figure I would imagine we'll see at some point here with Super Saturn. I don't know, but he's a character that definitely deserves an action figure, in my mind, at least.
It would agree.
You just get Mick to make one, right?
That's true. Yeah, Mick could possibly make one. I don't know. There you go.
You made it like with a shot. He sure as hell can make Nemex.
Nick from Thundera, right? So talented, beyond talented.
Yep. Yeah. No, we're actually going to be having Nick on at some point to talk. Oh, he's got several amazing stories. I don't know if, but we'll get to that. But yeah, because he's got a lot of real cool stuff going on. But so one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, this is kind of going to be a mixed question because it was really cool. I know you guys were featured on Peter's website, gtrart.com, for a ThunderCat of the Day. And you both kind of talked about your connections with ThunderCats and, why it really stood out to you. One of the things that I thought was really cool, because again, I didn't really have this experience. I think it was, and you both actually mentioned it, you both had different sections, was that ThunderCats helped you both kind of like bond as even brothers, which,
Yes.
whether it was through the toys and the cartoon, and it was, you kind of touched on that too, as you were kind of here you are across the country in this really scary time. Doing the podcast helped you bond too. Like, again, that's just really cool that, again, I've never experienced anything like that. Me and my brother, he was older. He was not a ThunderCats guy. I wasn't allowed to like anything that he liked. So, and yeah, like if you like He-Man, I better not be watching.
Oh.
And he was old enough where if I like ThunderCats, he wasn't going to like it. But that's really cool that ThunderCats was actually you guys were able to bond over that together. Like, that's so interesting.
I mean, and it's timeless stories. I mean, of course, it's thanks to people like Peter and the other writers, but it really, I mean, honestly, since childhood, we have not stopped talking about ThunderCats. And I mean, it's been a constant in our lives. Every time there was some kind of, David mentioned it in his story, the excitement that the ThunderCats DVDs were coming out. I mean, that is a milestone for us, because again, when you have VHS tapes, VHS is being phased out, the quality deteriorates, and then being able to see everything in a complete form, it just reawoke in those conversations. I mean, truly.
And I would go as far as to say the legacy of this franchise really, for us, also connects us to both of you, connects us to all the people that have been on our show, all the people that reach out to us, our extended worldwide family that has come really literally from the love of this franchise. That's kind of where this really is such a bigger thing than just a kid's show. And that's kind of like what you're touching upon with us. Yes, it bonded us, but in turn, it has bonded us to people in Australia, New Zealand, Germany. I mean, all places that we've never been able to go to physically, but and to talk to people, and they literally have shared their lives with us, and we have shared ours. So it's not just a superficial Hollywood, nice to see you kind of thing that you see, some famous people do, but it's like something meaningful, and that you can't put a price tag on that. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't put literally the friendships that we have created, the friendships we're creating now, it's like that to me is just a natural progression, and it's been because of this franchise.
Yes, truly.
One of the things that really, really stunned, and quite a lot of very personal information in the ThunderCat of the day, and I've had a really private call with people who confided the most, I'm a stranger. And they go, watch or asking me before I should give advice to anything because I put my life left, right, and center, or maybe that's a good reason, But no, I mean, they'd be really asking very personal questions. There are several of them. First of all, I'm not qualified to say anything to any, because, that was just not mattering a minute. And secondly, it's just so, it's humbling, and it's amazing for me. Anyway, that leads me to this. So you guys have a monumental understanding and knowledge about all the shows of that time, and I'm sure much later too. I basically don't, because as everybody knows, I had one piece of animation writing on my resume. Actually, it wasn't even on my resume. I wrote a 1-minute commercial for pasta. But our tar is made. So, actually, I think it was more than a minute. So, really, in many ways, I'm very ignorant. So the question that we've asked over and over again is, why was this show successful, and why does it persist?
Oh, we take that first.
Oh man. I mean, and it's a question that we have been asked many times from listeners. And honestly, and I never like to compare the shows to other shows at the time, but in this case, just to make the comparison, it's He-Man, which I feel like would be the biggest, maybe similar show at the time, these powerhouse shows.
Right.
You go back, and of course, the writing is filled with heart and love, but the stories, to me, do not. They don't last, or they're not almost. They're timeless, but the quality is not ThunderCats. You can go back to ThunderCats, and the stories, the characters, the acting. I mean, it's something that not a lot of other shows of the 80s cartoons, as much as we love them and they've given us a fun and amazing times, the quality is so, to me, it's stark. Compared, if you take a He-Man episode and a ThunderCats episode, one, I feel like, treats the audience, and we've always spoken about this, ThunderCats always, we felt, did not speak down to its
Well, we talk about this all the time. We talk about the fact of good writing. We talk about the fact that we personally feel, and I think a lot of people would feel the same way.
Yes.
Good writing for children does not speak down to children. You empower them, you challenge them, and you kind of make them think differently. These cartoons, things like ThunderCats, shaped who we were essentially. Do you know how many children I know? We had the gift of having a parent that was able to stay home. Do you know how many children I knew that were latchkey kids that they grew up on ThunderCats? That ThunderCats was their kind of like moral compass, for lack of a better word. And I think I even mentioned that, in the little information that we provided for you guys is. I was, working out my own, like trying to come up with my own moral compass of what I was learning from the real world. And the ThunderCats, their code was very much integrated into what I was learning in my real life. And it was something that I strived for. And also the fact that they were flawed. I'm very flawed. We're all flawed. And to see how characters are able to overcome and persevere. But also, again, I'll stress it again, not talking down to your audience and the children. I think I had mentioned too, like the first word I remember about having to really look up a dictionary is reconnoiter, because Igra said it. What the hell was reconnoiter? I didn't know what that was, but I had to look it up in a dictionary. That's how old I am. So it was something that, again, challenged my mind. So it wasn't just and again, no offense to other cartoons, because I watch cartoons myself, and there's a place for everything. I was the room at the table for everyone, I always say, but it's not mindless. It was entertainment, but it wasn't mindless for us. And it also taught us empathy. It taught us to look beyond certain things, and it was like a message that was coded into it for us anyway. I don't know if every writer that was their goal, but for us, it definitely. And I feel like just the fact of the way the franchise is and the love that it has and the sentiment that it has by so many people, it kind of speaks to that. I don't think, yeah.
I mean, again, truly, I remember going back to when the DVDs came out, and of course we had VHS tapes, but it was a while since watching them. And you kind of go, oh man, I hope this holds up. And boy, did it, because right before that, again, I don't want to badmouth He-Man, because it isn't. We are He-Man fans as well. I mean, I would say we're more ThunderCats,
She-Ra, like that too.
But when those He-Man DVDs came out, it was like, oh wow, this is definitely one show. The ThunderCats, like David said, are speaking about all these grand things and these words. And unfortunately, other shows at the time were kind of more really bare bones, really childlike.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but ThunderCats, like we said, felt different, and it still does.
Well, I mean, what you just said about writing for kids, somehow we should distill that. And we were talking about this, I think, yesterday. I can't remember. But anyway, I've always felt that, and I know there's a certain arrogance when I talk about all this stuff, so you just have to forgive that. I think people just don't understand how intelligent kids are. But of course, a lot of that intelligence is locked away, and you have to somehow release it. So if you've got a reasonably sophisticated theme, you have to release it for them by telling them a great story. Or what I Roald Dahl, despite all the horrors that we now know about him, Roald Dahl once said that writing for kids is exactly the same as writing for adults, but it's more difficult. And I think that what happens is that people tend to, oh, it's just for kids, which I mean, going back to the actual prison, there's two massive contradictions in there. It's just wrong, But I didn't do that because it's just for kids. That is what happens. You put them in the situation. I'm not going to get out of this. Oh, it's just for kids. But have a flying pudding coming, And I think that I was very lucky when I was very, very young. My father shared his taste in literature with me. So, we were reading Raymond Chandler and Damon Runyon. I used to find that, when I was way too young for that stuff. But the stories are so fantastic that you teach yourself, as it were. That's not quite right, and I think we're missing that. And again, you talked about D-Man, very respectful of it, and all the other shows. I have absolutely no issue with any other show. It's none of my business. It's none of my business whether they're stupid, too intelligent. I don't care. I just talk only about ThunderCats at this case. And I think that I'm so glad, I'm so happy and flattered in a way that people do see that in the writing because, we worked at it. So, there you go. Shut up, man.
And 41 years later, people are still talking about discovering it too. That's the other thing.
I literally went into pick up my dry cleaning, and all of a sudden, the ThunderCats theme is going off, and I'm going, "What is it? Is it my phone?" Because I'm thinking that I hit something because I have it on YouTube or whatever. I'm like, and the woman's like, "Oh no, that's my ringtone," and I'm like, and she was a kid, a young girl, and I'm like, "That's your ringtone?" And of course I plugged the podcast. I'm like, here's our business card. Why did you open it? But it was amazing. I was like, wow. She's like, I love the ThunderCats. I love I love the original. And that's what it's referred to as the original. So,
the classic,
the original, which I like because that's what but, and I was like, wow. It was amazing. I'm just like, such a small world.
Oh yeah.
Well, at the time, and when we were, I guess it must have been the opposite. First episodes must have been coming out. I learned that it was something of a cult in college kids, and I really didn't think, what? You must have too much time on your hands. Yeah. And but then I realized because we were. I'm sorry, switching the theme a bit. I think a lot of it we have to put down to Robert Custis, or at least the role that the writers were given for Robert, which is you better come up with a theme that has some value to it. Otherwise, and I said this to Buddha, I think in the 130 scripts, I think there was only one, which I looked at the third draft and thought, wait a minute. There isn't any redeeming feature or moral, and I think that word. There's nothing in the book. We'll go back to rewrite it completely. I think maybe that had something to do with it because he had to. I don't know. I still don't really know. I just don't.
Well, speaking of that, one of these days we are going to have to find out what that script is.
I did want to ask, but I didn't want to be too. I didn't want to call out a certain episode just in case.
Didn't you come across that?
Questions does happen. If you spoil free, I mean, yeah, because
I can't.
What are you thinking it may have been? Because again, you guys have now. We'll talk about this in a minute after I ask your question, but you've rewatched all of these episodes and you've done a whole podcast about them. So there's no one better to ask this question or to possibly pick out what that episode could have been other than the two of you. So what do you think?
I'll be honest with you. I remember having this conversation, but I cannot remember the episode. It was probably in the last, probably 4 or 5 months, maybe honestly. Remember I said, because basically we're talking and there was a wrap up, and I believe, was it Snarf that was in it too? And he was basically like, we were like, what that was the moral. Some of there, at the end, that was the moral of this episode. It was like, don't look up at the sky or something. It was like some bizarre, like, it was like, what? Like you, do you remember this?
I remember having this conversation.
I remember this. Oh,
and we're literally 3 episodes, and as of recording now, we're 3 episodes away.
I remember finishing. Oh my God, I'm gonna shoot myself for this, because I remember going, that was a far stretch. That had nothing to do with anything to do with the whole. And I was like,
yeah, we did call that out recently.
Yeah, that's probably right. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was Snarf, because he was probably the most annoying character I've ever.
he was a scrappy dude.
No, that's Johnny West.
Yes.
Alex, okay, gonna Algon Bandit, not having that bullshit here. We're gonna have, a real dog that does real things. There's a great movie called, I think it's not Power of One. Anyway, it's basically one of the stars of that is a Rhodesian Ridgeback dog. Oh, it's a real dog. You can't talk to it. It doesn't understand English. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do with Bandit. I mean, if Joe Barbera had a gun, he would have shot.
Well, he was big, really, right, into talking animals, right, and cartoon animals and dogs. I mean,
Yes,
we totally
could talk about that. Yes.
But you know what? I mean, speaking of Snarf, I have just to tell you though, honestly, and growing up, especially on the young days of the internet, people definitely had opinions about Snarf. But to us, I mean, we've always celebrated him, but it has come, I feel like, full circle. I mean, a lot of people love Snarf now. Like, it's not like David said, or like Scatty Jew or Scooby Jew, something like that. Like,
he could be very judgmental at times, but he's also a caregiver, right? He's like Lionel's surrogate parent, really. But also, I mean, what was it? Snarf takes
speaking of the challenge, Snarf takes up the challenge. I mean, he
took on Mumra. I mean, let's be honest, the weakest, they kind of left him like he's not even worth trapping because he's so weak, and he used whatever skills he had to do it. I mean, that again is a merit. That message, yeah, that you might be the smallest, you might be the most disregarded, you might be, again, maybe because we love the franchise so much, we read into these things, but I don't think so, because I see other people that have the same experience and the same shared memory. So whether or not you knew it at the time, that really did resonate with people, because it says, oh wow, even the smallest has value, even though he can be kind of a pain in the butt.
And he was disregarded.
He was disregarded, but yet he took on the scariest of the scary.
I mean, that's basically why I wrote that one, because by that time I was so sick of like, she's so if he's going to be a character, for God's sake, let's make him a character. Yeah. And by the way, I mean, can I tell the story about the? Yeah, of course I can.
No, yeah.
Which,
please.
When the first sketches came back from Messiah, sorry, a Snarf walking away from camera, you could see his arsehole, like a little dog. And you know that he ought to do. Okay. I mean, doesn't well.
Well, we did find out Snarfs are immune to a lot of things, so maybe that is one of them. Well, they don't have to.
No, we also know that history repeated itself. Didn't they do that when they did Cats the musical for the movie?
Yeah. Yes, I think they did.
I think they removed that though.
Yeah, they had a. But truly,
Guru and I have been talking about what you would do if you redid the show for a modern audience, and I think one of the things that I would certainly do is to make Snarf a more interesting character and maybe make him much more cat-like. No,
Okay.
or ability that cats have, that they could be incredibly brave, and then it's a sudden moment where they go, "Oh God," and they piss off, and then they kind
And
of
hide. Yep. Yeah.
like they really do have courage, and it's not exactly cowardice, like it's self-preservation. And I think if you instilled that more in a Snarf, I think he'd be a much more interesting character. So I think that's what I would do about it if I had another shot at.
Well, you know what? I feel like even adding Snarfer as a character, which I'm sure was, to make another cute, fuzzy character, But I mean, even making him an uncle, I felt like did give him more depth and having a connection to another Snarf at that time before the planet of the Snarfs and Thundera and all that. But even that, him being an uncle was something that was cute about his character, like respectable.
But I will say that the idea of making him more aloof at times or more cat-like would definitely probably much more resonate with a new audience if you were to remake it or continue it at this point. I really think it would. It would be, yeah.
Although,
definitely.
like David said earlier, so much of Snarf I feel like is that naggingness, but it's done with love. I feel like.
We had discussed this because we're at the end now. Obviously, we only have three episodes left. But we there's two things that we took away from the very end of the series. Is that one, we kind of felt like Snarf was back to a diminished role at the very end because they were like referring to him as like he's crazy. He saw the
Muslim
monster, and they were like, oh, he's crazy. He's seeing things. They went back to that original. I feel like the first season where Snarf was not really taken very seriously at first, and it kind of went that way. Just like when kind of Tiger also kind of did his swan song. No offense, no, that is one of the name of the episodes we just did. But he did his swan song. Was like they kind of discarded him a little bit too. He kind of left.
Well, we did mention over the years that Tiger was one of those flawed characters that did have.
Addiction
have a prone to addiction, which actually did add to something realistic again that ThunderCats is bringing. Here's a character that does fall for, let's say, a substance like a drug fruit or a totem that makes him feel more powerful because he's always felt that he was smaller and not animals,
and it was always the scholar, and I kind of like I felt like we kind of put him up on a pedestal as like the intellectual one, the architect, and then all of a sudden that definitely had a fall from grace. But that also is
real life,
and makes for a really good, interesting arc for a character.
And it's
I think again, if we were redoing the show, I think Tiger is one of the characters that really would need revisiting because he could be a lot more interesting. But, I mean, talking about the end of the show, I think sometimes, particularly in the rank and bass system, sometimes there are just too many characters to deal with. And you can't give each character enough oomph.
Yeah.
Personality.
I agree.
It becomes a kind of package of rather two-dimensional personalities, and I think that's one mistake that that certainly that Silverhawks made, or just too many people on screen, and we can't deal with that. I mean, in terms of personality, of course you could deal with it. Mechanic there is move them around. That's what it is. So I definitely would have another go at Tiger. I think we could make him a lot more interesting. And I always had a lot of trouble getting anybody to write Star.
Wow.
I mean, we've had this conversation. Well, I think probably with not every conversation except we just said Boral about the problem. Again, I would forgive me if it's arrogant, but the problem when you commission somebody to write a woman, if it's a guy writing, you would, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. And then what comes back is the guy who dress.
Man.
Oh, yes, I can understand that.
I mean, or it's somebody with, I think I said this about another show, where we developed a really interesting young woman with whom the largely male audience actually fell in love. Gina, preaching. I mean, they loved first few shows. And then I left the show. No story. And they put her in a pin dress. So it's just difficult. I mean, it's an interesting thing that women can write men. It's a generalization, but men can't write women.
I will say on our end, we are biased because we love ThunderCats, but we do honestly put her up in the highest regards of any female 80s character, because to us, she had softness and grace, but at the same time, she could take on the mutants and not break a sweat. So she really did balance for us that beautiful feminine energy of caring, but also in any moment she could take care of herself. I mean, there was an episode we joke about that I think the ThunderCats weapons were stolen, and we said, wow, Lion-O trusted her enough, just threw a stick. They literally first threw her outside of Cat's Lair and like, go for and it. She's able, take them on. She's patrolling with a stick, and she doesn't have her normal
Pick a stick, then just go.
And then she was able to. And then the Sixth Sense also was a beautiful thing about her too. I mean, honestly, just the myth, we adding that layer to her. I think she is a beautifully written character.
Well, I'm really glad you say that. And I'll tell you, you can put all that down to Lee Dalaka. Because Lee, and anybody who's listening who doesn't know, Lee was basically the producer. And not only the producer, but she was like the policeman of the show. Which we needed, because we had lunatics like Bill Overgaard and including me, I guess, Matt. Go way up now, and she brought it back, but she brought it back in a very sympathetic way. She was Chitara's protector, if you like. Well, it's not the right word, and of course, in a way, I guess Chitara's a bit like her, because Lee was, soul woman. Nah, not. She wasn't the only woman out there. But anyway, if you go back 40 years, to have female producer, it was actually quite rare.
That could happen.
I mean, there were many, many stories about Lee go off in different directions, but that's one thing she really did very effectively, was to police the show and Chitara's character.
It shows because, just again, so many other shows at the time make female characters, like you said, either they're the damsel in distress in a pink dress and, fainting, or
they literally have no femininity whatsoever, like you said, and they are completely devoid of any...
that angry, like almost, again, Tila from He-Man almost comes off as angry all the time. And, trying to prove herself in it, but Chitara can balance being feminine, beautiful, funny, but again...
And very vulnerable.
Brave.
She's afraid that people are making fun of her, like...
With the Sixth Sense, and...
Yeah, so it's like, it's definitely, again...
And it extends to Wily Kit, just to bring that up really quickly. We compare Kit and Cat all the time, how Cat will fall off the spaceboard, but Kit still has grace, and she's able to balance herself. And it's a theme that we notice continuously through the show. So again, if you're a little girl or anyone, you could be inspired by that, because the girl female character is not helpless. She's not falling all the time. She's, I don't know. It was a beautiful thing, and it still stands up 41 years later to us.
Excuse me. It's interesting, isn't it? That first of all, going back to Snarl very briefly, Len invented Snarl obviously is quite relieved.
Yes.
As far as I know, and you know better, we never really used it.
Mm.
We just had
Not much. The
raw female male thing. It's so easy to look back and wonder about these things. But there was a specific time, the zeitgeist was completely different.
Yes.
Why isn't there a female villain? Why isn't one of the mutants a woman?
right, yeah, they didn't bring in too many. Well, female villains eventually kind of crept in again with the Lunatics, but way further down the line. But I'm trying to think beforehand.
We had Queen Tartar and and with the bird, with the Arietta bird, with her, with the
I mean, we had the guest,
the Never Witch.
the guest stars, but not they were seen once and they're gone.
I guess not. Sure.
But we didn't. You're right. I mean, the only powerful other strong was Willa and the Warrior Maidens, So that was really right. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine if there had been a really powerful mutant woman.
Yeah, right.
Show. I mean, it would have been really interesting, I think.
Oh no, I agree.
I don't know. It's so easy to look back and say, well, we could have done this, we could have done that. It's funny enough, and you roll your eyes. I have to, I don't know how to say this, I have to do a study of Nietzsche. And, as I'm sure you know, Nietzsche has this concept of Superman, which is not Superman and as we know, but like an Ubermensch. And I thought, wait a minute. He never ever talks about it being Superwoman. It's only male. What? So you mean that the only human form that could rise above where we are now is male? Now, it's very easy to say that and become pretentious about it, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if that's reflected in shows that go out to kids, what else would right?
You're right, because that is one of the biggest criticisms of the younger generation of our cartoons and our franchises is that they say it's misogynistic, it doesn't have strong female characters, and our throwback is, well, Shira was the most powerful woman in the universe.
And we always
and we have our receipts, as they say, to say these are these people. But at the same time, I do agree with you that, but again, when we've done our main show podcast, we have done movies that people would be canceled for now. We've done we've gone over blaxploitation films because we grew up and we watched a movie and we actually identified with a strong black female character, even though it was a blaxploitation.
you root for the
We root for the character. So, but we always go in again with reverence and grace and say, hey, this is indicative of the time that it was created. We can all go back and criticize The Wizard of Oz that was done in 1920 or whatever, and say, this was this and this, and you exploited little people for the munchkins and stuff like that. But at the time, that's what it was. It is what it is. But I mean, I still find that, again, Chitara was still a very strong character, and it was a standout character that you could say, well, could there have been, yes, there could have been more female, more powerful villains or more, yes, but there was still something there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And she did cross over. I mean, I remember a lot of male friends probably because she's beautiful, but she does have a male audience behind her. As far as we've learned over the years, people do love Chitara for the strength that she has.
But it's a difference too, because we have both audiences. So we have a gay audience that likes her clearly for not the, what we would say, we've all, with the Wonder Woman with the big boobs and the whole, like the anime and stuff like that. We know all those things too, but we have straight and gay followers and audiences, friends that love the character for different reasons. Obviously the female, good looking, that kind of thing. And there's also the powerful aspect of it. So it's kind of like, we kind of dance in both worlds when we do talk about it, and it's kind of an interesting way of looking at things because you can see it from both perspectives.
Yeah.
And we also have female,
Oh, yes. We have actually, it's funny enough. I mean, again, it's not just a show that lent itself to boys, because we have a lot of female listeners who, one of them, Leah, who has become just someone who, I mean, beyond supportive, but she started a few years ago. She discovered ThunderCats. And she's around.
She literally made this amazing concept map, a very detailed map of a third Earth, which is really cool. But she actually supplies us with a lot of information for the podcast. It's definitely a ThunderCats community that helps us with our podcast too, which is pretty amazing.
But again, new fans are discovering it, and we love that it actually seems like there's a split. There is male and female audience members, so it's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I know. When we did the book, my partner with the book is, again, I think the overall perception that people that aren't within the community would ever think, oh yeah, like especially how toys and stuff were done back in the day. It's just there were boy shows and there were girl shows, boy toys and girl toys, like. And so when the first book went out, we started getting orders. It was very, I was just unexpected. There was a week where it was either a week or 2 weeks, every order we got was coming from a woman's name. And saying a name. And like my partner with the book, he was like, huh? And it was because that's when we started talking. I was like, yeah, no, there's the female fan base may not be as plentiful as the male fan base, but there are a lot of women who really love the show, and they love Chitara because she was a strong female character when a lot of shows really didn't have that. And even within the show too, it seemed like out of all of the other Thundercats, minus Lion-O, obviously, she kind of had the most screen time. Like she was the most character, the other main character, if you will.
Truly.
Not main, but she was compared to Panthro or Tigra, and then obviously compared to the new Thundercats, they were, way down on the list. But yeah, she had more of a presence on the show than the others. Just minus Snarf, because he was on there, with Lion-O constantly. But I could see like that
definitely. It's very. I don't know today because I haven't. Well, anyway, it's very hard. Has been very hard to develop a show, sell a concept, even if you're only contracted to develop it. Of this show's got to appeal to young men and young women, boys and girls, or we define it. And almost all the producers would say, no, well, it's boy oriented. And naturally, of course, because you get stereotype. Oh, this guy's that he writes action adventure and things for die. So you never get, you don't get that opportunity. Funnily enough, I'm involved right now in developing a show. The underlying, it sounds very, very heavy duty, and it's a very funny show. But the underlying thing is emotional intelligence. And how it's developing their emotional intelligence. So there's a character who's basically responsible for that kind of imparting that kind of information. Very cute character. So I said to them, this character should be female.
Yes.
So, because it's embracing it, doesn't have the impatience and blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, no, it's really in a he. No, it's complicated by Spanish language, which we won't go into. And so I said, well, wait a minute. You're voicing it with a woman's voice. You're describing it as a he. The hell is going on? And it's absolutely, it describes exactly the dichotomy of somebody trying to put a show together. And I mean, which we did with Johnny Quest, he invented the way, Jessie, and she was a really specific character. And for the first couple of shows anyway, boys loved her. Okay? And I thought, okay, we've done something here. We've got a show that actually has an appreciation of a young woman, young girl, and a good little love. Great. That's it. Success at last. And then anyway, there you go.
Well, this is actually, we keep talking about the the podcast too. Obviously, I want to kind of get into the ThunderCats review aspect of your podcast a little bit more. So, again, now as far as I know, your podcast is the only podcast that has ever done from the very start to I know you said you're 3 episodes away from the time we're filming this. Yeah, to episode 130. That's I think I've told you this incredible that before, but that's incredible because you don't think like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. It's a great idea. You don't realize how much time it takes to get through 130 episodes doing it. And
Years. Years.
like, so what has it been like? I mean, obviously it's been fun 'cause I know you're very passionate about it, but like, have you just been so like, you just want to keep going and you want to get there? Like, we've kind of touched on it about how wild it's been getting kind of fans from all over, but what's the journey been from episode 1 to now? Well, again, episode 127, where you're at.
Oh, I mean, it's bittersweet for sure because we don't want the original series to end again. I mean, on our own side of things, and our listeners don't want it to end either. That's the sad part. But it's extremely bittersweet. But I mean, besides us having about 15 different microphones from the beginning to the end of the podcast, quality of the podcast,
You can definitely hear the difference from the beginning.
like I cringe when we go back to the earlier episodes, but
We've actually talked about it, and I think we even talked about it on one of the last episodes or so. We're like, wouldn't it be great if we got picked up and someone said, let's go into professional studio and let's go back over all these episodes again? We would.
oh my god, there's so many details that we missed too.
Because the funny thing is, Ryan was on a Charmed podcast, so he did all the episodes of Charmed, Brunch with the Hollowells, and then Holly Marie Combs and the whole cast decided to then go and do it. Obviously, no affiliation, but they actually decided to do all of their episodes, and unfortunately, then Shannon Doherty passed away, but they're still doing things, but. It's the difference between a independent and then having a studio backed. So we invited her like we would love to have someone to say to us, hey, do you want to go back? And we would even go over our old episodes and kind of pull back the information. I mean, we don't want it to end, obviously. The difference has been rediscovering things that we missed initially, things that we thought we knew, preconceived notions about the series, finding stuff that we really love about it, stuff that we maybe don't love so much, things that, it's good to see things with fresh eyes. It's also different to see stuff from a child's perspective and a young adult's, even now 40 plus years old, and seeing the difference. And one of the things we do on our podcast is we have the host scale, which was actually created by
one of our listeners.
We give each episode how many hoes
out of five.
Of how
Of course, we play up the whole part. I mean, how we always have a comedy part of the show. We always say, oh, how many hoes are you today?
how good the episode was. Another thing that we do also from listener is the bungler, the biggest bungler. So we talk about, because the word bungler was used so many times initially, but
yes, Mumra loves that bungler.
Slide and a few other people use the word bungler so many times. So we came up with who is the biggest bungler, who messed up this episode, why the ThunderCats are able to make it through for another day, who messed up that they didn't basically get defeated or die or whatever context you want to use. So we have. We always come up with who's the biggest bungler, and honestly, it has been all over the place because there could be a lot of bunglers. There's a lot of bungles, and again, we do things with reverence. We do things with comedy. We have we don't hold back. I mean, obviously, being creators and content creators, we never want to criticize people, but we do in fun, and we laugh, and we're like, oh, this is the big, this person's the biggest bungler. Why would this person do this completely off character, or why did they write that, or whatever, like we're very, again, we're not in the hot seat as far as we're not the writers, but But you're also talking about something that was done 40 years ago. So, I mean, who are we to judge?
One of the sad things about 2026 that's been going on for a few years is that you can't have those conversations. You can't have somebody saying, I think you really didn't make about it's all binary. You're either this or you're that.
Yes.
Why wouldn't anybody criticize? Because criticize doesn't necessarily mean rip it apart. It means analyze.
Yes.
My point of view, if somebody takes the script and looks at it and says, well, I think, my view is that this, that, and the other doesn't work. All right. Okay. But that's just your personal view, is it? Now tell me why you think it doesn't work. Because then I can work with that. And that doesn't matter. It's just I hate you or I love you.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. And I try to explain this to my children. The world is not black and white. There's shades of gray. And sometimes you have to dance between those and realize that there are feelings involved. There are prejudices involved. There's preconceived notions. There's a lot of stuff involved. There's your own personal experience. And that's how you view things. I actually tell my children about what I call reading the room when you go someplace. You have to understand what audience you're talking to in their terms.
Oh, right, reading the room.
I was like, we were going to the church or something. I'm like, you have to realize you can't talk to your reverend the same way you would talk to your friend in the street. You know what I mean? Like, you have to realize you have to read the room. You got to know who you're talking to. But yeah, I think that's.
And actually, oh, Peter, please.
No, it's also okay to change your mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it's anathema now. But, I think the world's flat. Well, let me explain why, if here's you know what? I'm wrong. Never.
That's so true. It's either this or that. But honestly, onto that point, we're lucky enough in those final three. Again, we're so thrilled that Peter will be joining us for our last episode of the series, and we'll be in contact soon again, Peter. By the way, but Dennis J. Woodyard is coming on for Well of Doubt, and David brings this up all the time. One of the things he said when he agreed to come on the show was to not hold back because he is coming on the show to, I think he said warts and all. He wants to know the warts. He didn't want us to just praise it just because he was on there. And that was just so beautiful in its own sense.
Well, I will say it was great because I think I remember I messaged you about it. Like, I was asking to bring that up about Dennis. I follow Dennis on Facebook, and everyone you should. He puts a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of ThunderCats content and whatnot, but and one of the things he actually shared your podcast, and this was I don't know how he came about it. I'm sure you guys will find out, and I'll definitely be tuning into that. But again, he meant this in a very nice way. Where he was saying, like, oh, have you guys seen this? He was like, it's like Mystery Science Theater was watching ThunderCats, and he said, oh, let's still what, I'll get a negative. It was just saying, it was just so great, and I saw that. I had a message right away, and I was like, hey, did you see this? Like, I just thought that was really cool. And although we actually haven't had Dennis on yet, we are actually I've talked to him not that long ago. I know Peter we are going to be having him as well.
Wonderful.
Full review of us. We're for Hall of Omen's Thunderverse, and he's a great guy. So that episode is going to be fantastic. He seems like a very fun guy. He's very willing to talk about like pretty much everything, kind of like how Peter is, where whatever you want to talk about, he's down to talk about. He wants again, that's awesome. That he's like, hey, yeah, don't hold back. I want the truth. Like, hey, yeah, don't sugarcoat it. Let's if we want to talk about it, sculpt.
No, I don't even know what sugarcoating means. So. I'll have a question for you guys. Change the theme of that. Do you think that there's actually an audience for episodes 131 to whatever 65 plus segments? Do you think there's an audience today, 2026?
Honestly, if you would have asked us that maybe 5 years ago when we started the ThunderCats portion of it, we were kind of like, well, we know ThunderCats has a fan base. We want to talk about it. But I'm by the end of this show, I mean, the passion and the craving for more information, more stories. I mean, our viewers send us in what if stories to continue the show. So I think there is, because even the way, I mean, again, we didn't finish it on our side again on our rewatch, but there's so many questions from fans, and they do want to see the next chapters. Oh my goodness.
I think so. I think, and actually, I've already set this up for you. I think that it would be, first of all, digitally remastering the old and having a big launch for it would be a big thing. Having it on big platforms, at anywhere from Amazon, whatever, any platform, Netflix, whatever, getting it out there. I don't know if that would be a big copyright thing, but getting it out there that way would be a huge thing. Obviously revamping some things, but I think you'd have a big audience of your,
a built-in audience.
The built-in audience. Latin America is a huge ThunderCats. Having it in Spanish as well as English, I think that is explosive. That right there, that would be a huge. You'd have a built-in audience, even if the American audience or the English-speaking audience, you would be able to sustain that just with a Latin American audience. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, but even look at the comics that are due, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not per se like we're following it, but I mean, it's not particularly our ThunderCats, what we would want in ThunderCats, but it's doing amazing. So there is a desperation for more of this story.
I mean, the fact that the toys continuously sell and sell out. I could not get that sort of moments. I am so upset. But anyway, I won't talk about it. I don't think it would be a question. I think it would be, again, about writing, because we saw how when He-Man Masters of the Universe Revelation went off, and it became what they call too woke, and there was a lot of controversy. But now we also see that the new Masters of the Universe movie is getting a lot of good, positive feedback. So, and that's a live action. So, honestly, I think there's an audience, and I personally think there is. I just think it has to be, again, it comes down to the writing, it comes down to presentation. I think that you have to preserve
the fundamentals,
what has your built-in audience already has and loves for it. Because sometimes when you deviate too much, you alienate the people that really love the fundamental basics of it, but you also have to. It has to lend itself to a new audience as well. So that's a balancing act, and there's got to be a marriage between the two. But I think there is a balance. We often talk about, can lightning strike twice on this show? We talk about people do remakes, and it may not be a matter of if lightning can strike twice. Maybe that it's something new, but you have a big foundation. I mean, the fact that your book has been
second edition
and selling out, and pre-sales and everything, it's there is an audience, and I think that, and the Super 7, and the fact that our podcast is well received, and the fact that there's a lot. I don't think.
What I think the problem would be, and I know this is probably a marketing thing that is a story as old as time. I don't think you should start it as a show for children. I would say. I mean, not that, again, we spoke about how a ThunderCats always spoke in an adult tone to children. But I think a lot of people say, it has to work for kids. No, I truly think it's the adults and the children of people that grew up with the original ones that is going to keep this alive. It's not little Johnny or Susie from around the corner. Yes, it will catch on, but I think a lot of people don't want to target the adults market, and they just say, if it doesn't sell toys. But I think this could exist on its own.
I mean, we are a lot of followers of the podcast that have introduced ThunderCats to
their children, which is beautiful.
And he, in turn, even with Mitesh, his daughter has sent in
questions for us based on just listening to the podcast. Their children are involved. I mean,
so
they talk about ThunderCats as a family, his wife, his son, his daughter. It's a beautiful,
amazing.
It's a beautiful thing. So yes, I mean, biased, yes, but I really feel like
you have a built-in audience. You just have to learn. You have to figure out how to tap into it, and then grow it. Really, that's really what it's about for me. Because I see other people.
We could easily have an entire hour just on this, but the whole thing about parents watching with kids, or adults watching with kids, it's something I really guess goes back to whether what out of respect, intelligent children. But it seems to me that so much material, I suppose particularly reading, but it doesn't really matter. The parent has got it in front of them and they're going, oh my God, I got to go through this again.
Yes.
Material that sure, it may be for kids, but that the parent can watch with the kid and enjoy it,
Yes.
and maybe explain something that has to be explained. I mean, we had Al Lambert on the other day, and he was sort of like how he watched everything with his father. And his father, built this kind of, 18-foot cat set. I mean, and I'm thinking, look, I have to go back to my job. I wish I'd had that with my.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes.
Great. And I think, I've wrote a couple of books about retellings of Grimm's fairy tales. And I specifically wanted an adult to be able to read it with their kid, just like my dad read there were adult books that he read to me. But it was that experience is so valuable and and I'm not sure that people have it now. I mean, parents are working, they're both out of the house, or they're both working God knows how many hours, they don't have time, they don't have the energy, and the kids or whatever they're doing on, various social media, there's no attention span. So you have a 6-minute 3-act story. Probably more than,
Yes, that's a matter of fact, and we don't, again, not to badmouth, because we are going to cover it eventually, but the latest incarnation of Roar, and Buddha and we have talked about it over the years too, but you could tell that's meant for a modern audience, the attention span of 2, let's say, less than 15-minute episodes, and there is a wackiness now to these children's cartoons. They're bright and colorful, but they're almost like they're just weird.
Well, they're almost void of a soul, so to speak, I would say. But
not particularly the Raw, but in general,
modern cartoon. But the other thing I would say is that I watched for the other side of the podcast, My Little Pony, the movie, with my daughter, and she loved it.
The 80s,
but the
yeah,
80s. But what she said was, it just was so long. And it is. It's like an hour and.
But for us, it was
an hour, a normal movie, 38 minutes. It was like quite a long movie, and she said, "I loved the movie, but it was too long for me." So that would be also something to definitely take in consideration, because my children do have the attention span of a goldfish. I love them, but you have to want to shake them sometimes to be like, "Just sit and learn something."
you even remember who I am?
I'm the one that just cans them stuff. My daughter said to me, "I don't want to spend my money. I want to spend your money." She literally said it was like a Marilyn Monroe, a gentleman's preferred blonde moment. I was like, "Oh yeah," because she has more money in her savings account than I do. I'm not bitter, just disappointed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. We gotta start wrapping these up. Brian, David, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been awesome. I can't thank you guys enough. I know, again, if I will have the links in the description, but everyone listening, everyone watching, be sure to follow them on Instagram. It's at Radical Retro Rewind podcast, correct? All right, that one, right? And then also at ThunderCats 1985 reviews. And again, I don't know exactly when this is going to be airing or when their schedule is going to be, but be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check them out if you haven't seen it yet. Start from the beginning. You've got at least 127 episodes you can start with from where you're watching right now. And then again, be sure to check out the episode they've got with Dennis coming up. And then episode number 130, Peter's going to be joining them. That's going to be, I can tell you right now, that's going to be a fun episode for you guys. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, be honored.
Thank you for having us. This was a dream come true.
I think that, all the what you were just saying about other shows. I'm not to badmouth other shows, so I'm not bad about any of the stuff we've done so far. But I think there's more material that we've missed in this episode. We need to come back quickly.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk to you again, because there's an awful lot of stuff that we could cover. And this is beyond Thundera. We're not just talking about ThunderCats. And I think there are a lot of things that we've touched on about entertainment for kids in general, and whatever the politics of today are, all that kind of
Yes.
stuff have to be heavy. But I think it's important to discuss it, even if only 3 people are go watch it. So
agree.
I think we need to get you guys back on quick. Yeah.
Oh, we
We would be honored. We would love it. We will make ourselves available.
And
You just tell us.
And it is something that we personally do love to talk about. We have had conversations about the modern lens of cartoon landscape and how things are translating. So it's definitely something. And this was just an honor beyond honors. Sight beyond sight.
Now we're definitely going to talk. We're going to set some more up because again, Mary, hey, you've had me on the podcast a whole bunch. I've got to have you on this podcast a whole.
And future, we can't wait to have you back again on our end.
Like I just how's it feel being on the other side of time round?
We were so nervous about it because we're so used to, I mean, literally, you like half an hour, 45 minutes before.
We were set up an hour.
We were setting the camera up. I'm like, can they see the stuff behind us and make sure the lighting, and like, I'm like, because we always have problems with our mics. You know that. We told you that. So it's like, you had it, you saw it firsthand many times. We're like, oh, can you come in and out? We're going to go from StreamYard to this, to that, or whatever. So it's nice to not always have to be in the driver's seat. But again, talking to you guys, it's amazing. It's a wonderful feeling, and to be held in a high enough to regard to be on somebody like this by y'all, it's really nice too.
I love these conversations. I'm not gearing, but I particularly like, we don't have any constraints. We can say what we want to say, and then we're not promoting anything and we're not being anything. It's just conversation, which I think is pretty rare, actually.
Yes.
So it's valuable, and that's a lot. Really appreciate it. We will continue soon as.
So there you go. There you have it. This episode is going to be continued. So we'll have you guys back later. We'll set that all up right away. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. Everyone watching, thank you. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you have comments for Ryan and David for our next episode, feel free to leave them in the comments. Send them an email. Let us know. And well, until next time, ThunderCats ho!
ThunderCats ho!
Oh.